My mother-in-law always said she put her grandkids first. I didn't understand what she meant until the day she decided that loving them gave her the right to erase me. That was the day she stopped being family and became a threat. The first thing I saw was my wedding dress box sitting open on the lawn. At first, my brain refused to connect the dots. It was just a white box, tipped on its side, tissue paper lifting in the breeze like it was trying to escape. Then I saw my clothes. My shoes. A sweater I wore when I was pregnant with my oldest, the one that still smelled faintly like baby soap no matter how many times I washed it. They were scattered across the grass like evidence. And standing on the porch, red-faced and shaking with fury, was my mother-in-law. "My grandkids come before you," she screamed, loud enough that 2 neighbors had stopped pretending not to stare. "Before your feelings. Before your drama. Before you." I remember thinking, very calmly, this is the moment everything ends. Not because I was surprised. Not because it hurt more than anything else she'd done. But because it was finally public. People like her rely on silence. On closed doors. On family pressure to keep things tidy and contained. The moment they explode in the open, they expose themselves. And she had just exposed everything. But to understand how we got to that lawn, you have to understand that this didn't start with screaming. It started with help. When I married my husband, I knew his mother was intense. She had opinions about everything. How the house should be cleaned. How food should be cooked. How children should be raised, despite the fact that her own son still flinched when she raised her voice. "She means well," my husband used to say, rubbing the back of his neck the way he always did when he was uncomfortable. "She just gets excited." Excited was not the word I would have chosen. From the beginning, she treated our life like a shared project she had seniority over. She'd rearrange my kitchen drawers when she visited, then laugh and say, "Oh, you'll thank me later." She'd criticize my parenting choices in a voice so sweet it sounded like concern. "I just worry," she'd say, handing my toddler a cookie after I'd said no sugar. "Grandma's allowed to spoil." It was always framed as affection. As love. As tradition. And if I pushed back, even gently, she'd sigh and look wounded. "I raised 3 children," she'd say. "I think I know what I'm doing." What she meant was, I outrank you. At first, I swallowed it. I told myself this was normal. That every mother-in-law pushed a little. That I shouldn't be so sensitive. I had 2 kids under 5. I was tired. I wanted peace more than I wanted to be right. Then she started calling them her babies. "My babies are coming over this weekend," she'd announce, not ask. I already told my friends. I'd smile tightly. "We'll see. We have plans." Her smile would freeze. "Plans? With children? That's cute." My husband would intervene, half-heartedly. "Mom, you should check with us first." She'd wave him off. "Oh, don't start. You know I'm just excited." And that would be the end of it. Or so it seemed. The first real crack appeared when we hit financial trouble. Not catastrophic, but tight. Daycare costs went up. My husband's hours were cut for a few months. We were fine, but we were careful. That's when she offered money. "I don't want you kids struggling," she said, pressing a check into my husband's hand like she was doing him a favor. "This is for the grandkids." I hesitated. "We're okay. We don't want to." "Oh, nonsense," she interrupted. "Family helps family." I should have said no. Instead, I said thank you. The check came with invisible ink. Suddenly, she had opinions about everything the kids needed. New clothes. Better toys. Extracurriculars she signed them up for without asking. "I'm paying," she'd remind us lightly, every time I questioned her. And if I objected too strongly, she'd turn it into a performance. "I guess I'm just not wanted," she'd say loudly at family dinners. I try to help, and I get pushed away. People would look at me like I'd kicked a puppy. My husband started shrinking. "Can we just let her have this?" he'd whisper after fights. It's easier. Easier for him meant harder for me. The breaking point started forming the day she asked for a key. "Just in case," she said. "For emergencies." I didn't like it. Something in my chest tightened when she asked. "We'll think about it," I said. She smiled, but her eyes hardened. "There's nothing to think about." My husband caved. He always did with her. "She won't abuse it," he promised. She abused it immediately. I'd come home from work to find her in my living room, the kids sugared and overstimulated, my routine completely undone. "Oh, I was just in the neighborhood," she'd say. I let myself in. I felt like a guest in my own home. When I finally said something, really said something, it wasn't even dramatic. "Please don't come over without asking," I told her, voice shaking but firm. "It makes me uncomfortable." She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. "Uncomfortable," she repeated slowly. Then she laughed. "In my son's house?" "It's our house," I said. Her smile vanished. From that moment on, I wasn't just inconvenient. I was an obstacle. She started undermining me openly in front of the kids. "Mommy worries too much," she'd say when I enforced a rule. "Grandma knows better." My oldest started hesitating before listening to me, eyes flicking toward her like she was checking which authority mattered more. That terrified me. I talked to my husband late one night, sitting at the kitchen table while the house slept. "This can't keep happening," I said. "She's confusing them. She's crossing lines." He rubbed his face. "I know. I'll talk to her." He talked to her. She cried. She called me controlling. She told the family I was trying to take her grandkids away. And suddenly, I wasn't just a daughter-in-law. I was the enemy. The day it all exploded, I had taken the kids to the park. When we came back, her car was already in the driveway. My stomach dropped. The front door was open. I told the kids to stay in the car. Inside, drawers were open. My closet door was wide. Hangers lay broken on the floor. Then I heard her voice. "You don't get to push me out," she was yelling. "Not when those children are mine." I ran outside just in time to see her throw my suitcase onto the lawn. And then my clothes followed. Piece by piece. With an audience. "My grandkids come before you," she screamed, pointing at me like I was something rotten. "You're replaceable." "I'm not." Something inside me went very still. I didn't scream back. I didn't cry. I looked at my children in the car, their faces pressed to the windows, confused and scared. And I knew, with a clarity that felt almost peaceful. This woman would never stop. And if I didn't end this now, she would eventually try to take my children from me. That was the moment I stopped trying to keep the peace. And started preparing for war. The neighbors didn't intervene. They watched. Some with mouths half open. Some pretending to check their phones. One woman across the street shook her head slowly, like she already knew how this would end and didn't like it. I gathered my clothes off the lawn with shaking hands, not because I felt weak, but because my body hadn't caught up to the decision my mind had already made. My mother-in-law stood on the porch, arms crossed, breathing hard, triumphant. "This is what happens when you forget your place," she said. "You don't get to come between me and my grandchildren." I didn't answer her. I buckled my kids into their car seats instead. My oldest was crying quietly, trying to be brave. "Mommy, why is Grandma mad?" they asked. I swallowed. "She's not mad at you. She made a bad choice." My husband arrived 20 minutes later. He took in the scene in fragments. The clothes. The neighbors. His mother standing like she'd won something. "What the hell happened?" he asked. She launched into it immediately. "She's trying to cut me out," she cried. She's poisoning the children against me. I won't allow it. I waited. For him to say something. For him to defend me. For him to notice our kids shaking in the back seat. He looked at me instead. What did you say to her? That was the moment something cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough that it would never fit back together again. She came into our house without permission, I said. She went through my things. She threw my clothes outside. In front of our children. He turned to his mother. Mom, you can't do that. She scoffed. I absolutely can. That house exists because of me. I helped you get it. There it was. The financial hook. She'd given us money for the down payment. Not a loan. A gift. A gift that now had teeth. I have rights, she continued. Those children are my blood. My husband's face went pale. You don't get rights over my wife, he said weakly. She rounded on him. I gave you everything. And this is how you repay me? Letting her disrespect me? I realized then that this wasn't just about me. It never had been. It was about ownership. About her belief that because she had paid, birthed, sacrificed, she owned the next generation too. That night, my phone started buzzing nonstop. Family members. Mutual friends. People I hadn't spoken to in years. She's just worried about the kids. She didn't mean it like that. You should apologize and smooth this over. One aunt messaged me privately. She's talking about grandparents' rights. You should be careful. My stomach dropped. I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table while my husband paced, rubbing his temples. She wouldn't actually do that, he said. She's just emotional. She threw my clothes into the yard, I said flatly. In front of our kids. He didn't answer. The next morning, she tried to pick the kids up from daycare. The director called me. Your mother-in-law is here, she said carefully. She says there's been a misunderstanding. I felt ice spread through my veins. There has, I said. She is not authorized to take them. Do not release my children to her. Understood, the director replied. She's upset. Of course she was. She texted my husband immediately. You're letting her turn you against your own mother. I won't be treated like this. Then came the threats. I'll get a lawyer. I know my rights. You don't get to erase me. She showed up again 2 days later, this time crying on our porch with bags of toys. I just want to see my babies, she sobbed loudly, making sure the neighbors heard. She's keeping them from me. I watched from behind the door. My hands were steady. I didn't open it. That's when the smear campaign went fully nuclear. She told anyone who would listen that I was unstable. That I was abusive. That I had anger issues. That she was afraid for the children. I started documenting everything. Dates. Times. Screenshots. Voicemails. I spoke to a family lawyer, my voice shaking only once. She's escalating, the lawyer said. You're doing the right thing by creating a paper trail. My husband finally started to see it. Not because she hurt me. But because she was coming for the kids. I didn't think she'd go this far, he said one night, staring at his phone. I did, I replied. Because I'm the obstacle. They're the prize. He went quiet. Then he said something I'd waited years to hear. We need to stop this. Completely. That didn't mean it stopped right away. People like her don't surrender control. They exhaust it. She showed up at a family gathering uninvited, reaching for my kids while crying about forgiveness. I stepped between them. You're not touching my children, I said. The room went silent. She stared at me with pure hatred. This isn't over, she whispered. I met her gaze. Yes, I said. It is. She didn't believe me. But she was about to. The final confrontation didn't happen in our living room. It didn't happen at a holiday dinner or a lawyer's office or even at our front door. It happened in a place she never expected to lose control. The elementary school parking lot. It was a Thursday afternoon. Ordinary. Boring. The kind of day that lulls you into thinking the worst has already passed. I was 10 minutes early for pickup, sitting in my car, scrolling through emails when I saw her car pull in. My chest tightened instantly. She parked crooked, 2 spaces over, and got out like she owned the asphalt. Hair perfect. Makeup done. Big sunglasses like armor. I locked my doors. She walked straight toward the school entrance. I was out of the car before my brain finished processing. Stop, I said, louder than I meant to. She turned slowly, smiling like she'd been waiting for this. I'm here for my grandchildren, she said. You don't get to block me. Yes, I replied, my voice shaking but clear. I do. She laughed, sharp and ugly. You think a daycare list matters? I raised their father. Blood matters. Parents nearby were staring now. Good. She thrived on secrecy. Let her choke on daylight. I stepped closer. You are not authorized. Leave. She leaned in, lowering her voice. You can't keep them from me forever. Something snapped in her then, like she realized the old tools weren't working. She grabbed my arm. Hard. I didn't scream. I pulled away and said, loudly, clearly, for everyone to hear. Do not touch me. A teacher stepped out of the building. Is everything okay here? My mother-in-law's face transformed instantly. Tears. Tremble. Victim. She's having some kind of episode, she said, pointing at me. I'm just trying to protect my grandchildren. I felt the world narrow. This was it. This was the line. I took my phone out and hit record. She threw my clothes onto my lawn, I said calmly. She tried to remove my children from school without permission. She just grabbed me. The teacher's expression hardened. I need you to leave, she told my mother-in-law. Now. My mother-in-law stared at her, stunned. You don't understand. I understand enough, the teacher replied. If you don't leave, I will call the police. The word police landed like a dropped plate. My mother-in-law backed up, hands shaking, rage leaking through the cracks. This isn't over, she hissed at me. You think you've won? I looked at her, really looked. And I felt nothing. I didn't win, I said. I protected my children. She got in her car and peeled out of the lot. I sat back down in my driver's seat and realized I was shaking from head to toe. My husband arrived 5 minutes later, breathless, eyes wide. She called me, he said. She said you assaulted her. I met his gaze. She grabbed me. In front of witnesses. It's on video. He stared at my phone. Something in him collapsed. That night, we filed a police report. Not because we expected charges. Because we needed a line in ink that said, this behavior exists. The officer was calm. Professional. She's escalating, he said. You did the right thing documenting. The next day, a lawyer sent a cease and desist letter. Formal. Cold. Unemotional. No contact. No appearances. No attempts to access the children. She violated it within 48 hours. She showed up at our house at 6 a.m., pounding on the door, screaming that we were kidnapping her grandchildren. The neighbors called the police. This time, the officers told her directly. Do not return here. Watching her argue with a uniform felt surreal. She kept saying, I'm their grandmother, like it was a legal spell. It wasn't. When she finally left, escorted to her car, something shifted permanently. Not in her. In us. My husband changed the locks that afternoon. He handed me the new keys without a word. That night, he sat at the kitchen table and cried. I let this happen, he said. I thought keeping the peace was protecting everyone. I sat across from him, exhausted and hollow. Keeping the peace with her meant sacrificing me, I said. And eventually, the kids. He nodded. I see it now. The next message she sent was the last one I ever read. You think you can erase me? They'll come looking for me one day and hate you for this. I blocked her. On everything. Phone. Email. Social media. We informed the school, the daycare, the pediatrician. No contact. No information. No exceptions. She tried once more, through a cousin. Heartsick, the message said. Just wants closure. I didn't reply. Closure is something you earn. She lost that right the moment she chose control over safety. The silence that followed wasn't immediate peace. It was strange. Heavy. Grief-laced. But it was quiet. And it was ours. No contact doesn't arrive like a victory parade. It arrives like the tide pulling back after a storm, leaving debris everywhere and a strange, aching quiet you don't trust yet. The first few weeks felt unreal. Every sound outside made my heart jump. Every unknown number sent my pulse racing. I slept lightly, half listening for pounding on the door that never came. The kids changed first. That was the part one didn't expect. They stopped asking why grandma was mad. They stopped flinching when voices got loud on TV. They stopped looking over their shoulders for approval that wasn't coming. My oldest asked one night, very seriously, is our house safe now? I swallowed hard. Yes. It is. And for the first time, I believed it when I said it. The fallout didn't disappear. It just lost its teeth. Family members picked sides quietly. Some faded out of our lives without explanation. Others tried one last time to guilt us. She's old. She's lonely. She didn't mean it. I stopped arguing. You can't reason someone out of a position they benefit from maintaining. My husband struggled the most. He went through waves of anger, grief, guilt, and something that looked a lot like shame. Watching the illusion of a parent die is a particular kind of mourning. It's not just losing who they are, it's losing who you thought they could be. I keep thinking if I'd handled it differently, he said once, staring at the wall. I didn't interrupt him. Then he finished the thought himself. She would have still crossed the line. Yes, I said. She always would have. That realization settled into him slowly, like a bone knitting back together. We put cameras up. Not out of fear anymore, but out of closure. Evidence has a way of calming the mind. So does knowing you don't have to justify yourself to anyone ever again. Months passed. Holidays were quieter. Smaller. Sometimes painfully so. There were moments I missed the idea of extended family. The photos. The traditions that were supposed to be passed down, not weaponized. I grieved that. I also grieved the version of myself who tried so hard to be tolerated. I no longer felt the urge to explain why we cut her off. The people who mattered saw it. The people who didn't were never going to. The last time I heard about her was through someone who didn't realize what they were delivering. She tells people she doesn't understand why you did this, they said carefully. She says she put her grandkids first. I nodded. Because in her mind, she probably did. She just believed that putting them first meant owning them. And that's where she lost everything. My children don't know the details. They don't need to. What they know is simple. That their home is calm. That their parents are united. That love doesn't come with threats. One night, long after everything settled, I folded laundry in the same room where my clothes had once been torn from hangers and thrown into the yard. I paused with a shirt in my hands and realized something quietly astonishing. The memory no longer made my chest tighten. It was just a memory. She had screamed that my grandkids came before me. What she never understood is that protecting them meant protecting myself too. I didn't take her grandchildren away from her. She chose to lose them the moment she decided that entitlement mattered more than safety. No contact isn't cruelty. It's the boundary you build when someone proves, again and again, that access to your life is something they will abuse. And I will never apologize for choosing peace over permission ever again. She still believes she put her grandkids first. What she never understood is that you don't protect children by tearing their mother down. You protect them by knowing when to walk away and never look back.